Book 101's all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have much special guest. He's a healing chronic pain, stress, and gut issues naturally, and other than Mr. or Dr. James Lovinsky.
Thanks so much for having me on the show, Daniel.
Welcome, Dr. James on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yeah, so I'm a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. Um, Americans love certificates and degrees and doctorates. Basically, I'm trained to help people with chronic disease, chronic pain, with acupuncture, herbal medicine, cupping, um, supplements, massage, things like that, body work. So I work at a clinic in Rhode Island called Opus Total Health with a number of other practitioners. And I also work online. I do some remote health coaching, helping people with primarily chronic diseases and illnesses caused by stress, chronic gut issues, IBS, Crohn's disease, things like that.
Interesting, Dr. James. So today let's talk about, well, when you've tried everything and real path to healing. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you. So today, let's expound this topic of yours. Profound sense of exhaustion. What does the tried everything to actually look and feel like for someone? And why is it more dangerous than simply not starting?
A lot of people who come to see me feel like they've tried everything. Um, they've exhausted all of the avenues that they have explored, with conventional doctors and conventional medicine. And it's a common thing for alternative medicine practitioners in the United States, like me. They call it provider of last resort. And of course, there are always more things that we can try, and always more avenues to explore. But oftentimes, the people who feel that they have tried everything, a lot of it comes down to feeling that they haven't found the right person to listen to them and really understand them and help them find the tools that they need to heal themselves. Because ultimately, each one of us, our body heals itself and our organism heals itself. And even when you have surgery or something like that, your body heals itself from the surgery. And some of us need more help, some of us need less help, some of us need guidance. So there are a number of books that influenced me in this philosophy, and some of them are books that are acupuncture, Chinese medicine books. One that was prominent that I read early on, even before I went to acupuncture school, is called The Web That Has No Weaver by Ted Kapchuk. It's a classic in the field. It's a really great introductory book into Chinese medicine and Chinese herbalism and Chinese medical philosophy, which is heavily influenced by Taoism and Chinese philosophy in general. And that's one that I would recommend to anybody who wants to learn more about Chinese medicine. And Chinese medicine is a holistic approach, and very, very much based on observations on the natural world, and views the body as an environment or a reflection of the natural world. And the idea is kind of in the title, The Web That Has No Weaver, the web of life, and the way things are connected and interrelated. So that's a great book that has informed me and my philosophy and my practice. Um,
So, Dr. James, many people cycle through modalities, diets, and therapies, creating a healing hamster wheel. What is the core mindset or mistaken belief that keeps someone stuck on this wheel, believing the next thing will be the magic fix?
I think a lot of people are looking outside of themselves for a fix instead of taking responsibility for their own healing process. Um, and I don't mean that at all in a way that, to blame people, because obviously, um, yeah, it's very difficult when you are facing chronic illness or chronic pain. Um, but there's a certain amount of taking responsibility for our own journey that has to happen, I think, for real healing to occur. And really, what that comes down to is acknowledging that the things that we can control are how we respond to the circumstances that we're faced with. So I think that that's really what it comes down to, is recognizing what we can control and what we can't control, and um, starting with the things that we can control and accepting the things that we can't control, um, if that makes sense.
Makes sense, Dr. James. Makes sense indeed. In this state, people often feel, well, a unique blend of hopelessness and frantic effort. How does this conflict itself become the barrier to the very healing they seek?
That's a great question. I think probably what that brings up for me is the that sort of frantic energy. Um, there's a great deal of suffering and pain and stress and anxiety in that searching process, and that can be quite counterproductive. I think that that's some of that is just bred by our modern society. Everyone is faced with so much stress from their day-to-day lives, and then that's of course compounded when you have a chronic illness or disease and you're looking for answers, um, and being in that constant state of stress and anxiety, it's very damaging for the body, and it prevents the body from engaging in a lot of um, its innate healing processes. So that's actually I think one of the main ways that acupuncture and other forms of body work like massage are helpful for people. When someone comes into my office and gets acupuncture, the acupuncture needles help to direct the healing processes in the body. And part of the process is that the patient gets to rest with the needles in place for usually about a half an hour. And that time gives the body a chance to discharge some of that stress energy and anxiety, and shift into a healing rest and digest state. It basically reboots the autonomic nervous system, which is responsible for stress response versus healing processes in the body. And of course, the body is always doing its best to prioritize moment to moment survival. So, what you're talking about, people get into sort of constant survival mode, and it does interfere with the body's healing processes, certainly.
Hmm. So, Dr. James, tell us, can you describe the moment or insight in your own journey where you realize the problem was not a lack of effort, but perhaps the direction or nature of the effort itself?
I would say that I can think of two different moments. There was a time when I was in my 20s, I injured my neck, and it was quite severe. I had muscle spasms on one side of my neck that I couldn't consciously control them. So basically, my head was tilted over to one side for a couple weeks, and as those muscle spasms started to relax, I still had a lot of tension and tightness on one side that caused an imbalance in my neck and in my shoulders. And that was very clearly my body was outside of my conscious control. I just couldn't release the tension in my neck. And the more I tried to do so, and the more stressed I felt about it, the worse it got. And I discovered a book called Somatics by Thomas Hanna. And that book, he calls that loss of conscious control over muscle tension in the body, he calls it sensory motor amnesia. And basically, his theory is that the sensory nerves and the motor nerves in the body form a feedback loop, and our body becomes habituated to a certain level of muscle tension. And usually this happens insidiously and slowly by something like sitting at a desk all the time. You get used to the posture that your head's in and the tension in your neck. Sometimes it happens suddenly because of an injury, like what happened to me. So his book was about, or his book is about restoring conscious control to movement and releasing tension in the body by basically becoming aware of it again. And so I read this book and I practiced the movements in it. And at the time, I ended up going on a meditation retreat. And the meditation retreat, it was a 10-day retreat, and I was able to explore that connection between just awareness and conscious control in a deeper way. Um, so that's one of the times that it became very clear to me. The other time, I was in my late 30s and I was working too much. I had several jobs, and I wasn't taking very good care of myself. I wasn't eating well. I wasn't sleeping enough. One morning, I woke up quite early because I had a nightmare, and at breakfast time, I had a fainting episode. It was another time when I knew that I wasn't taking care of myself, and my body basically said, "No, we're done with this," and I lost conscious control in a very literal sense. And so that's two times in my own life that I would say, comes right to mind. And both of those times, both of those experiences, I learned an incredible amount from both things, and both experiences, I would say, were turning points in my life, and I kind of changed direction. And I think that's sometimes what those experiences are about. They're an invitation to look at your life and think about how you can do things differently.
Interesting, interesting. Mr. James or Dr. James, a key concept is likely moving from fixing to integrating or being with. Can you articulate the difference and explain why one leads to dead end while the other opens a path forward?
I think that's another great question. Um, I think that we're learning organisms, and part of the point, our life is about learning and fixing. When I think of the word fixing and fixing a problem, we want to just continue living our life without making any changes. We want to just take care of that symptom or take care of that issue and keep on going the way that we've been doing things. And sometimes small things we can do that with. Um, Maybe sprain your ankle or something like that, and you can fix that by rehabbing it properly and taking care of it. But a lot of chronic diseases have a emotional, spiritual, mental component, even if it's just in response to the physical illness. But oftentimes, I think physical illnesses, chronic physical illnesses, can be manifestations of a deep, emotional or physical or spiritual illness. So understanding that and working through the underlying problem and integrating it is sometimes the only way that we can return to health. Um, And I think that actually, some of the most interesting books that I've read in my personal life are books like In Search of the Miraculous by P.D. Uspensky, and other books from the G.I. Gurdjieff tradition. And those books are very much about exploring and understanding how our mental and emotional lives intersect and interact with our physical bodies, and how we can work to integrate and understand our how our emotions and thoughts affect us physically and in our day-to-day lives.
Mr. James or Dr. James, many approaches, or yes, approaches focus on eradicating pain or symptoms. How does your path redefine the relationships with pain, anxiety, or past trauma? Seeing is not just enemy to destroy, but a signal of a part of a whole self.
I try to, the way that I was taught to approach pain, and really any condition, is to look at both the root and the branch. This is another naturalistic metaphor that we use in Chinese medicine, and also in Japanese styles of acupuncture. But sometimes the pain is a branch of the illness. So it can be a symptom and not the primary problem. Other times, the pain can be part of the primary problem. And either way, it's the main thing bothering a person. If that's the main thing that's their problem, if somebody comes to me and they're having headaches, then I want to try to address the headaches, even if I think that the headaches are not the primary problem. For instance, a lot of people who have headaches, get headaches in their forehead. And oftentimes, forehead headaches, the root cause of it can be a problem with the digestion.
Mhm.
But I'm not going to, ignore somebody's daily headaches and just try to do something to fix their digestion. If I know that that's going to take a lot of time and they're going to continue suffering from the headaches day to day for, say, a month or two. So I'll do a branch treatment that addresses, the pain of the headache and helps take that away in the moment. And then I also work on the root of the problem, which is the digestive problem. Now, if I just treated the headache, like most people have a headache, they just take some pain, ibuprofen. Maybe the headache goes away for a day or two, but then it comes back again. And they get in this, I just keep having headaches, and I have headaches all the time. And I have a headache every day, or I have it, 3 or 4 a week, and I just keep getting headaches. I take the painkiller, the headache comes back. When you come see someone like me for acupuncture, if I just treat the headache goes away, it comes back, it goes away, it comes back. It's just temporary relief. So we have to find the underlying cause of the headaches and address that as well.
So, Dr. James, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, I'm a father. I have 3 little kids. Well, I have 2 little kids and another one on the way any day now. So a lot of
Congratulations.
thank you so much. A lot of my short and long term goals have to do with my kids and my own personal health. I lift weights and try to stay in good shape. So I have some strength goals that I'm pursuing. At my business at Opus Total Health, I we have I have 3 other acupuncturists who work with me, a naturopath, a massage therapist. So I have some goals to just keep growing that business, and uh, our goal is very much to be one of the very best wellness clinics in Rhode Island, and um, provide the best service to people in our community. So that's a short-term goal. I am hoping to open another clinic in New Hampshire in the next year or two. and I plan to continue practicing at Opus in Rhode Island. And I would say in the medium to long term, I want to write more. I'll probably start with articles, and eventually I hope to write a book or some books about my own experience and the things I've learned. And hopefully I can help more people with a book, besides the limited number of people I can see in person.
Well, good luck to your goals, Dr. James, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
I think I have two pieces of advice. One is uh, don't ever stop learning. Um, Keep looking for answers and try to do it in a curious and open way, and pay attention to um, the emotion behind your seeking or your desire for knowledge. Don't, try not to be desperate or do it in a stressed way, but do it as much as you can. Cultivate an attitude of openness and curiosity, and sort of happy go lucky. Things happen to us in our lives that are outside of our control. So focus on what you can control, which is how you react to the things that happen to your life, your attitude, how you think about things, and how you treat other people, how you treat yourself.
Mm-hmm. How do you treat yourself? Well, thank you for that advice, Dr. James. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
I could recommend so many. Um, I think Somatics by Thomas Hanna is a fantastic book for anyone that's suffering from chronic musculoskeletal pain, back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, uh, any kind of injury related pain. Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon is a wonderful cookbook from the Weston Price Foundation tradition. It's just full of a lot of interesting traditional ancestral health knowledge. Um, if you want to learn more about acupressure and acupuncture, Acupressure's Potent Points by Michael Reed Gach, GACH, Acupressure's Potent Points. That's a great book. It's a do it yourself at home acupressure book. He has basically protocols for lots of common complaints. That was a book that I came across when I was, I think, in my early 20s, and it helped me a lot and got me um, into acupuncture school eventually. So those are three books that I think would be wonderful additions for anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. And Dr. James, thank you for that recommended books. So the sounds or the skeptic who says this sounds passive or like giving up, what is your response? How is this deeply active and courageous in wholly different way?
This sounds passive, or like, I'm sorry, could you ask me the question again?
Yes, so for the skeptic who says this sounds passive or like giving up, what is your response?
Um, I mean, you mean my philosophy?
Yeah, for those people who want to avail this healing and they're saying, oh, this sounds passive, like, or like they want to give up. Which one do you seek for advice?
Sure. It's not at all about giving up. I think that it's quite the opposite. I mean, well, I would say yes. You are giving up, perhaps, um, hoping that someone else is going to fix your problems. Ultimately, I think my philosophy, a lot of it is about taking responsibility for your own life and giving up, um, hoping that someone is going to come fix your problem. And a lot of that has to do with, in my mind, with, taking responsibility for yourself and your life. So it's not about being passive. It's about looking for guides and people who can help you, people who maybe know more than you do about a certain topic. But at the end of the day, each one of us is the expert on our own life. So it's a very active process of becoming more and more a more well-informed expert on your own life. So learning more about what makes your mind tick and your body tick and your emotions tick, and figuring out how to give your body the right kind of food, give your body the right kind of exercise, give your uh, emotions and your heart the right experiences that it needs so that you can be happy and emotionally well regulated. And at the end of the day, no matter what you do, everyone faces challenges. Um, we're always either going into adversity, coming out of adversity, or, you know, going back into adversity soon. So you have to learn how to manage adversity and um, learn different strategies and tools that you can um, use when you are faced with something that's difficult. So I guess that's what I would say to a skeptic. It's not passive at all.
So, Dr. James, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in third season, and of course, my book 101 review in sixth season as well, comedy 101 third season, and food 101 in sixth season too, geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 are in fifth season, science 101, sex 101 in its third season, trivia 101, law 101, mental health 101, motivation 101, entrepreneurship 101, and Bible verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Dr. James, to offer immediate hope, what is one simple injury or 60 seconds practice you can offer for our listeners today to help them step off the hamster wheel and touch the piece of the real path, even for a moment?
One of the best things that anyone can do is taking time out of their day to relax, turn your attention inward, and breathe, and just return your attention to your breath. And one of the simplest ways of doing that is something called box breathing. It's pretty popular. Lots of people have heard of it. Basically, you imagine a box with the number 4 on each side of the box, and you breathe in for 4 seconds, a count of 4. You hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and you continue with that for, you know, 30 seconds to 2 minutes. And basically, you keep doing that. First, you want to get into a comfortable position. Ideally, maybe you lay down on a couch or something like that. And then you practice, close your eyes, practice this box breathing. And after 30 seconds to a couple minutes, your breathing will relax. You'll feel some tension leaving your body. And at that point, you want to just focus on a feeling of heaviness in your body. That heavy sensation, allow that to happen and allow it to grow. People say, oh, you know, you need to relax more. Well, what does that mean? Physically, the sensation associated with relaxing is often heaviness, because as muscle tension relaxes, there's a feeling of heaviness because the muscles are not straining to hold up the body anymore. So I think that, just a few seconds of that a day, after lunch, at the end of the day before you go home from work, at the end of the day before you go to bed, can be really helpful for a lot of people.
Well, Dr. James, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering, well, advocacy like this to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now.
Well, thanks so much, Daniel. If you want to connect with me, you can find me at opustotalhealth.com. That's my clinic website. There's a contact form up at the top. Welcome to send me an email if you have a question. I'm also on X or Twitter at James Lovinsky. I don't post there super often, but I do have quite a bit of content from a couple years ago when I was posting regularly. And I do check my DMs regularly. And I'm happy to speak with someone if they have questions about the podcast or something I said, or if you're interested in my advice, please do reach out.
Yes, people, let's support Dr. James Lovinsky, because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering advocacy like this to rise. So, Dr. James, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much for having me on the show.
More to come, people. See you soon.